Ons oor Wentworth.
En net vir ons groet, kyk ons na die weervooruitsigte vir vandag en môre.
Die inwoners van Wentworth in die suide van Durban gaan lankreeds gebuk onder sosiale probleme wat 'n bedreiging inhou vir die gemeenskap. Maar die situasie kan moontlik binnekort verander, want die gemeenskap is nou verbind tot heropbouing. In 'n insetsel wat 2 jaar gelede op KZN Tonight uitgesaai is van die probleme uitgelig. Ons kyk na 'n kort uittreksel daarvan.
Straatbendes, misdaad en dwelms het deel geword van die lewens van die inwoners van Wentworth.
From as far back as the 1960s, everyone came from a different area or different part of Natal, or even the Transvaal for that matter. And you had these people from different persuasions, from different beliefs.
People from all different walks of life were just taken and put to live here, right? And that, will cause a problem.
The flats are extremely overcrowded. You find that within a flat of 17 square meters, the Woodville area in particular, you have up to 13 members in a family. And that in any terms is unacceptable.
The corporation put us 8 families in a block, one block. There's 8 families living in one flat and there's 2 bedrooms.
Die oorvol toestande in woonplekke kan maklik lei tot verveling en soms opgeknopte aggressie. Dis veral die jong kinders wat hierdeur gedwing word om straat toe te gaan. En dis hier waar hulle vinnig leer hoe om te baklei, te steel en dwelms te gebruik. 'n Tekort aan skole in die woongebied het ook gelei tot toenemende bendebedrywighede. Kinders wat buite Wentworth met skool gaan, kom op pad huis toe met bendelede in aanraking. En daarom keer hulle na bendes vir beskerming. Ook het die gemeenskap oënskynlik alle geloof in die polisie verloor. Volgens die polisie kry hulle min samewerking van die gemeenskap. Daar heers ook pessimisme oor die moontlikheid om dwelmmisbruik uit te wis.
Drugs will always be here in Wentworth. Whether Mandela stays or Mandela goes or a new candidate comes and a new candidate goes, drugs will always stay in Wentworth.
On one side, you've got an apathetic community. If it doesn't affect them directly, then they don't really do anything about it.
There's a lot of drug dealers in the area as well that are not being dealt with. I mean, they sell their drugs quite freely.
Die hoë werkloosheidssyfer onder die grootste deel van die gemeenskap lei tot groter sosiale agteruitgang. Maar daar is aksiegroepe in die gemeenskap soos die omgewingsbewaringskomitee wat inisiatief neem om die lewe van die inwoners te verbeter. En meer jong mense kom ook na vore wat bereid is om 'n ander pad as ander te loop.
Die gemeenskap van Wentworth het besluit om saam te staan in 'n poging om die probleme in die woongebied op te los. Hulle glo ook dat daar wanindrukke oor die woongebied is wat reggestel moet word. By ons in die ateljee is Dominee Terrance om ons meer te vertel oor die pogings wat aangewend word om die Wentworth gemeenskap betrokke te kry by opbouende projekte. Kykers, veral wat in Wentworth woon, onthou asseblief om in te skakel en vir ons veral te vertel van probleme en dalk moontlike oplossings. Die nommer is 362-5238. 362-5238. Nancy Eerwaarde.
Good evening.
Hierdie probleme wat ons nou gesien het, is dit waarheid? Is dit hoe dit lyk in Wentworth?
Yes. Ja, dit is die waarheid. It's true. what you see is true, although just one side of the picture. That is true. There are various problems in Wentworth, but there's also some signs of hope, which I hope we will talk about today.
Now, I mentioned earlier that the misimpressions created by the media, and this leads me to the problem. Is it a so-called colored problem? Because that's what it's been painted as.
Well, CBCO, which I'm lead organizer for, Church-Based Community Organizations KwaZulu-Natal, has found that this is so in all the communities around the Durban metro area. For a start, we are working in the Durban metro area, and every community has the same problem, if not some other communities are even worse. So it's unfortunate that Wentworth has been synonymous with drugs and gangsterism and negative publicity. But we believe that that will change very soon.
Now, the organization Isaac and the Interchurch Social Action Alliance campaign, what has led to the creation of that?
Okay, firstly, Isaac is the Wentworth cluster of CBCO, KwaZulu-Natal. The idea was that we at CBCO believe that the reason why there is so much negativism and so much problems and so many communities becoming victims is that communities are not organized. We believe that power comes from organized people. And obviously that leads to organized money in various forms. And so the community of Wentworth was approached through the Ministers Fraternal. The majority of Wentworth are Christian. And that has been the entry point. And from there, the Ministers Fraternal, that is the group of ministers, invited us to begin to do some organizing in Wentworth. And we got into the churches that have committed. There are 7 churches that are committed to Isaac and that have been working on this program. We did training on how to build relationships with people, how to do one-on-one interviews to assess and to ascertain the needs of the church and the community.
Now, would you say it's been successful? Is it working?
It's working. For the first time since the residents of Wentworth can remember, we had a successful public meeting on the 30th of August where we focused on the issue of illegal dumping. And we had 650 people at a meeting. The deputy mayor was there, the director of parks was there, the director of the housing department.
I believe, can I just interrupt? I believe we have had our caller wanting to possibly shed some light on that.
Okay.
Good evening. It seems our caller is not ready to take us on that point. You were saying that it is potentially effective.
Yes, and then we followed that up by a cleanup, and the health department said, well, somebody from the health department said that it's the first time they've seen such a successful cleanup. It took Durban Solid Waste and other institutions nearly a week to clear up the dirt that was pulled out of over 20 illegal dumping sites.
Now, it is an alliance of church organizations, so would one only benefit from it if you were a churchgoer or a religious person? Is it aimed around the religious community, or is it Wentworth as a whole?
It's aimed at Wentworth as a whole, but somebody needs to get things done. I'm an organizer for all intents and purposes from outside.
Sorry, and I disturb you again. It seems our caller has come through. Good evening and welcome to KZN tonight.
Good evening.
What is your name, ma'am?
I'm Angie Finger.
Angie, do you agree with Terrance here, Reverend Terrance, saying the community needs to be organized? If it's not organized, there will be no power.
I agree 100% with Reverend Terrance.
And have you seen the effects of this organization?
Yes, it's very effective.
Do you belong to any of these groupings?
Yes, I'm one of the members, and I belong to Christ the King.
And are you in contact with any of the activities that we saw in the insert?
Yes.
Are those truly the problems that exist in Wentworth?
They are, but something can be done about it.
And you're saying that what you're doing now is the way to solve it?
Well, we can be empowered, and we also need, the support and the help of the officials.
Are you getting that?
Yes. Well, we had our public meeting on the 30th of August.
Right.
And
thank you. Thanks for that input. I believe we have another caller waiting.
Okay.
Good evening and welcome to KZN. Okay. we're waiting for a few more calls.
Okay, I want to pick up on something from that conversation. Yes, the idea of CBCO and Isaac, the substructure, is that you start with a winnable issue to build confidence in the community, to build the community's confidence, and you begin then to tackle issues that are more pertinent. The issues that you saw, that we saw just now, are very pertinent, and some might argue more pertinent than cleaning up Wentworth. But I think it's difficult to say which is more pertinent. Our take on this is that if we want to organize our community, we start with the winnable issues, we build confidence, people are confident.
And you're saying then you go on to tackle the hard ones.
Yes, there's lots of there's drugs, there's alcoholism, there's noisy taxis, there's unemployment.
Is it necessary, will it necessarily follow, if we win on the winnable issues, that we will win the hard ones?
Yeah, I think the philosophical underpinning of this whole thing is that people need to understand that we need to be powerful in the public arena. And any issue that will take us into the public arena to show our muscle, number one, and secondly, to own powerful actions, will make the people more confident and break this whole spiral of victimhood, which we believe is the...
Let's see what Ms. Reddy has to say.
Okay.
Good evening, Ms. Reddy, and welcome to KZN Tonight. Good evening, Ms. Reddy. Terrance, are you well?
Hi.
Can you hear us there?
Yes, I can.
What is your view on the matter?
Yeah, whilst I agree with what Terrance is saying, I think that the whole thing about the colored people being seen in a bad light, although we do see the types of things that we've just been viewing now, I think there's also positive things that have come out of Wentworth.
Like what are those?
Like during the apartheid years, Wentworth was one of the strongest, the strongholds in the democratic movement. For example, we've had leaders coming out of Wentworth like Robert McBride and people like that. I mean, these are positive things that have come out of Wentworth, and we don't ever see that on SABC. Sure. I mean, even in the Western Cape, we see in colored areas, there's a focus on gang violence in the Western Cape and in other colored areas. There's never ever anything positive said about colored people.
Okay, but by saying positive things about the area, will it solve the negative problems?
It may not. Well, the negative things need to be addressed, but also we need to look at the colored people also as a part of the change in South Africa, the new South Africa, and not look at them all the time in a bad light.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Would you agree with that? As just a closing question, the media misrepresenting, always focusing on the negative issues in the colored community, never on the positive, and will it make a difference?
I think we are concerned about that, about the negative publicity, because the colored community is a small community, especially in Durban. But I think the greatest concern is not so much, well, it is the negative publicity in the public arena, but also what effect that has on the local community. And what we're trying to say is, yes, it leaves you feeling that everything is negative, but we need to rise up and change that.
Right. Terrance, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
'n Konvensie wat 50 jaar gelede deur die Verenigde Nasies se algemene vergadering goedgekeur is weer in die lewe geroep na 'n historiese beslissing van Durban